Hello everybody and welcome back to the Classical Pairings Host Challenge brought to you by the National Bank of Indianapolis. I am your host, Nick Johnson. We've been having fun doing some fall episodes. This is going to be our last one actually, but we wanted to do one more where we could get cozy and enjoy some local beverages as the season is changing. So today we're going to have two ciders from Ash Elm. I went down there today to their location, their tasting room on Washington, just outside of downtown. It's a beautiful space with some really fantastic ciders. I'd never had their product before, but I really enjoyed what I tasted, and I grabbed a couple 6-packs, or 4-packs, I guess, to bring home for this. So Ash Elm has been open for about 5 years. They opened this tasting room in August because they just needed more space. They have 7 flagship ciders that they have regularly available. Some of them are available in stores, but you can certainly get them all in their tasting room. They also do 4 seasonal ciders, and they do a Cider of the Month Club. You can find out all about this information on their website, ashandelmcider.com. You can also find them at sometimes some farmer markets. They do various events. And finally, I'll mention that their Fall Fest, to celebrate their 5-year anniversary, is coming up on November 13th. So if you like what you see here, you go give it a sample. That might be a good chance to go and try a whole bunch of products. One thing I will say about everything I had, I'm usually not a huge cider fan, at least in terms of like the mass-produced ciders. To me, they're usually a little too sweet. Everything I tried today is definitely quite a bit actually less sweet, but still very fruit-forward and very delicious. They maybe add a little bit of sugar to some of their ciders, some raw cane sugar they told me, but they don't do anywhere near as much as like the main brands that you've heard, like the national brands you've heard of that are just dumping all sorts of sugar into their ciders. Instead, they're relying completely on Indiana and Michigan apples for their ciders and producing some really fantastic flavors. I'm confident with their huge lineup of products that even if you don't like cider, I tend to not like cider, I definitely found something I really like today, so I'm confident you would as well. So let's go ahead and get to the pairings. We're actually going to do 2 today, and by the way, we have a special surprise, so make sure to stick around for that. But first, I wanted to do, I mentioned they do seasonal ciders. This is the one, Autumntide, that they just released for this fall. I sampled this, was in the tasting room, and it's really fantastic. There's something about the way they mix. It's a semi-sweet cider that they mix with some pumpkin, actually, and then various spices like you might find in a pumpkin pie. But it doesn't just taste like a pumpkin pie. It's a really fantastic, crisp, and I would almost say nostalgic sort of flavor. You see it has this very light, beautiful color, very clear. But the nose is crisp. There's just a hint of tart. Really, I can't think of anything better for a fall flavor and sort of this mix of kind of apple and pumpkin pie. Like at Thanksgiving, you know, when you take like a little bit of both kinds of pie, that's a little bit what this cider tastes like. So, to come up with a piece of music, I wanted something that felt appropriate to the season, something that felt very nostalgic, and something that went down very smooth. A sweet, beautiful piece of music that could be enjoyed just like this crisp cider. So I chose Songs My Mother Taught Me by Charles Ives. There's actually 2 pieces by this name. You might know the one by Dvorak. It was written 15 years before the one that Ives wrote in 1895. They're both based on the same poem. They're both beautiful compositions. But for this cider, I chose Ives because, well, first of all, he's an American composer. But also, the piece is far more, to me, nostalgic and simple and tender, which I think perfectly pairs with this cider. There's also in the piece, there's these brief little dissonant moments that I think capture, because I said this cider is sweet, but it's not too sweet. So there's just a little bit of bitterness that I think is captured with the music, but then it ends with this perfectly clear and delicious sort of wash that kind of goes over everything. It's a relatively short piece of music, but I'll tell you right now, you won't hold this glass very long because it's so delicious, you will go through it very quickly. It's actually hard for me right now to not just finish all of this, but that wouldn't be very entertaining for anybody. So there we go, our first pairing. Next, I asked to try what is one of your sweeter ciders. Just curious to see what they do, and they pointed me to this one, Fleeting Youth. This is a semi-sweet cider that they mix with raspberry and lemon peel. This one is one of their flagship ciders, so you could always find this one, whereas Autumntide you could only get right now. You see even the raspberry and the lemon, how much that changes the color. And you get such this rich, beautiful, almost orange and peach sort of colors. I'm not great with my colors, but that's what I would describe this as. I could definitely say it's very pretty. How about that? And it's so fruit forward. It smells and tastes a little bit like a nice crisp sorbet. So this is one that would be good any time of the year. It does not have to just be for autumn. And so I was doing what we're going to call research. Before this episode, when I was sampling these, I brought these home for my wife, Chloe Bolter, and I to try. And I made that comment, this smells and tastes like a sorbet. That made her think of a piece by Eric Satie, La Diva de l'Empire. I probably mispronounced that because it's French and I don't do French very well. But anyway, this piece is from 1904. It's in the sort of cabaret style. And speaking of American music, it's actually heavily influenced by American ragtime. So it sort of fits the theme of American style ciders. And just to have fun, I suggested, well, hey Chloe, why don't you just sing the first verse for us while we are sipping on this cider. So Chloe's also the assistant, does assistant production for this. She's normally behind the camera running all these things and pretending to laugh at my bad jokes. But now she's going to come up and sing just a little bit of this beautiful piece by Satie. So come on, Chloe. So Chloe is an operatic soprano, and in fact, you can find on YouTube a recording of her singing this entire piece. Here, I'll let you have this one.
Thank you.
What color would you call that?
I thought the peach was a good...
You thought peach was good?
That was right.
Very good.
That's totally right.
And then how do you actually pronounce the name of this piece?
La Diva de l'Empire.
That sounds much better than the way I said it, but please, go ahead and sing us just a little bit of it.
Sous le gros chapeau grenouille, mettons l'éclat d'un sourire, ton rire charmant de frère, de baby étonné qui soupire. Little girl aux yeux vélotés, c'est la diva de l'Empire. C'est la reine dont se prennent les gentlemen et tous les dandys de Piccadilly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for agreeing to go on the spot like that. And I said, just come out here and sing. So I think you can hear how perfect this is going to go with this crisp, beautiful, fruit-forward cider. So I definitely recommend picking this up and listening to it. And if you're lucky, you can just have somebody that you live with sing it for you. But Classical Pairings is a listener-supported program. If you like what you hear, you can text PAIR, P-A-I-R, to 202-858-1233 so that we can keep bringing you future episodes pairing classical music with great local craft food and beverage makers. I would like to thank Ash Elm. Make sure to check out their location on Washington and their website for all sorts of their events and different ciders of the month and that sort of thing. I'd also like to thank our production assistant and musician today, Chloe Bolter, and our producer, Ezra Baker-Trupiano, for their great work. And of course, our friends at the National Bank of Indianapolis for their generous support. So thank you, everybody. Cheers. Cheers.